All right, let's talk Nintendo. They've been famously, almost painfully, tight-lipped about their next console. But it looks like the wait is over. A newly leaked strategic report seems to pull the curtain all the way back on their entire game plan for 2026. So, what does the future of Nintendo actually look like? Let's break it down.
First, you have to appreciate the scale of the original Switch. This thing wasn't just a console, it was a global phenomenon. We're talking over 150 million units sold. That's more than the legendary PlayStation 2. So when you have that kind of once-in-a-generation success, the pressure is immense. The big question on everyone's mind is, how do you possibly follow that up? Well, this new report seems to have the answers. It lays out this incredibly comprehensive roadmap that's all built around one single core idea: creativity. The whole strategy is broken down into three main pillars, and it all starts with the thing that Nintendo cares about most.
And here we go, Pillar 1, the games. Of course. For Nintendo, it always begins with the software. The report actually calls their plan a creative renaissance, and it's designed from the ground up to really show off what this new hardware can do. So, what does a renaissance look like in practice? Well, it starts with a number: 14. That's how many new titles are reportedly planned for the console's launch window in February 2026. You know, most consoles are lucky if they launch with 2 or 3 games you actually want to buy. 14? That's not a launch. That's a statement. And just look at the variety here. This isn't just the usual suspects. Of course, you've got a brand new Mario title, but then you have major third-party games like a new Resident Evil, fan-favorite remakes like Dragon Quest VII, and even some really cool-looking indie games. It's so clear they're trying to have something for literally everyone right from day one. But, all those amazing games need an amazing machine to run on. And that brings us to Pillar 2, the hardware. Now, the report makes one thing crystal clear. Nintendo is not trying to get into a raw power competition with Sony and Microsoft. That's not the goal. Instead, this hardware is purpose-built to power that creative vision we were just talking about. So at the very heart of this new machine is a brand new custom-designed chip from NVIDIA. You can think of this as the engine that's going to drive all those new experiences. And crucially, it's going to deliver a really significant leap in performance over the original Switch. And here's what that new power means for what you actually see. In handheld mode, we're jumping from 720p up to a beautiful, crisp 1080p. But here's the kicker. When you dock it to your TV, this thing can push a full 4K resolution. That is a massive, massive leap in visual clarity, whether you're playing on the go or relaxing on the couch. The next huge upgrade is the console's memory, the RAM. We are going from just 4 gigabytes in the original Switch all the way up to 12 gigabytes of much, much faster memory. For you, the player, this translates to a world with way fewer loading screens, bigger and more detailed game worlds, and just a snappier, smoother experience all around. It's a game changer. And beyond just the raw power, the report also details some really smart quality-of-life improvements. The new Joy-Cons, they apparently use these really satisfying magnetic snaps instead of that old, kind of wobbly rail system. They're finally adding a dedicated chat key, and big improvements to battery life and cooling mean you can play longer and quieter. It's these little things that make a huge difference in the long run. This one quote from the report just sums it all up perfectly. It says Nintendo's goal is to replace pure graphics with pure creativity. They're not just chasing photorealism for the sake of it. The goal is to build a machine that's powerful enough to let their developers' imaginations just run wild. Okay, so we've got amazing games, and we have the creative hardware to run them on. But how does Nintendo tie it all together? How do they convince millions and millions of us to upgrade from the original Switch? Well, that brings us to the final pillar, the strategy. And this is all about building an ecosystem that you just can't resist.
And this is the glue that holds the whole plan together. First, and this is maybe the most important part for current owners, full backward compatibility. Yes, your entire library of Switch 1 games comes with you. That's huge. Then, Nintendo Online is getting a massive injection of nostalgia with a full GameCube library. And to top it all off, it's going to be priced competitively to challenge Sony and Microsoft directly.
So when you put it all together, Nintendo's 3-pillar plan is actually pretty simple and really clear. It starts with a huge, diverse library of games. It's all powered by hardware that's built for creativity, not just for graphics. And it's all unified by an ecosystem that respects the money you've already spent while building for the future. After laying out all the games, the hardware specs, and this grand strategy, The entire report seems to funnel down into one single, all-important question. Will this carefully crafted, creativity-first strategy be enough to make Nintendo's next console the ultimate winner of 2026? I mean, the plan on paper looks incredible. The only question is, can they actually pull it off and capture lightning in a bottle for a second time?